Oh yes, so he's a good leader from that point of view, except that they end up finally burnt to a crisp for eternity. But he does endow them with it, and that's why they're very intelligent. You can't, don't misunderstand, don't underestimate them. They're formidable enemies. And whether it's in the ACLU or the Planned Parenthood Federation or some of the out-and-out homosexual organizations, which even the ordinary homosexual you meet says, "My God, that's disgusting." You know, he's got his servitors, and they are very faithful to him.
And it permeates our whole society, even in the music, for example.
Oh, above all, in the music, there's nothing more influential than music. I know that, you see, but what is difficult for normal citizens to imagine is this. And this holds for Canada or for USA or Australia or England or Europe. It holds for those areas because that's where the Satan is most active at the present moment, according to our statistics. It's very difficult for them to realize that over a period of time, hard to calculate, but certainly in the region of about 150 years, coming to a culmination in the middle of our century, there has grown up an organizational institution kept very private, with membership lists, with centers, with leaders, with a bank balance, with funds, and with great influence, that like an octopus is spreading through every one of our public institutions. And whether it's the armed forces, or whether it's the federal government, say here, or the government in Canada in Toronto, or whatever it is there, and is planning things. And you can only account for some of the things that are happening in our world by presupposing such a thing exists. We know it exists otherwise. But you'd be led to conclude there was something like that there merely by watching the phenomenon take place. There must be something coordinating all that because it's all moving in one direction. The direction is terrible, Bernard. You probably are too young. I'm not putting rank on you. I'm complimenting you to know that you're used to change today. I mean, there's a change every week and every month. But when I was young, there was no such thing. Every decade was a tin tap of the previous decade. Somebody has so arranged world affairs that now it's in flux always. We have been forced to get used, to get accustomed to change, perpetual change. That's not only in our politics, but in our lives. The job system today requires you to travel. You have to travel. The job system requires the husband to go to Seattle and the wife to stay in Oklahoma because that's the only way they can make their money work.
And people change jobs every 2 or 3 years now.
And they move. Or he moves or she moves, the family stays behind. I know that's an arrangement that takes place today. That's why we have I think not half our families, but it's near one half our families are one-parent families. But there's this change. And then another change which has been instituted, this will show the extent of this octopus, is this, that we have now got used to the fact that people will wear clothes, slacks, men and women, jeans, which will show all the contours of their bodies. And we have to get used to that. And the videos, the advertisements you see, whether you're in television over there or here, they are showing things which my grandmother and grandfather would fall to pieces over. We have become we don't blink an eyelid at it any longer. A nude, a naked, a very revealing dress, a male body almost showing all the relevant parts of it. We don't care. We've been made to get used to that. We said that's what they do nowadays. Language, the 4-lettered words that are in English, you just can't afford to be shocked if you're going to listen to TV. You can't afford to be shocked because they're going to use every one of them. They've made you used to it. Another effect. A third effect is that now, if you lift your eyebrows at a dinner table, certainly in America, except in very fundamentalist circles, if somebody says, well, Joe is living with Mary now for the last 3 years and they're very happy, you're supposed to take that like as if he said about Joe that Joe has got a haircut. It's perfectly normal. If he says that, well, Joe and Michael decided that they were best buddies and they could give life support to each other, they love each other very much, meaning they have a homosexual union, you're supposed to, oh really? That's bravo. I mean, you're not supposed to, or not common at all. You've got to get used to it, lad, because that's the way it is.
And anybody who objects to that will immediately be ostracized.
But that every day, Bernard, to let our listeners know, every day on the international stock markets, say of Tokyo, Singapore, Berlin, Düsseldorf, Paris, Rome, Tokyo, London, New York, about $600 billion are sloshed around in various stock deals, perfectly legitimate. And there are hundreds of thousands of small investors all over the world. But there are only about up to 100 who deal every day on those markets, on all those markets, with about $20 to $40 billion. They know what's going on. They decide who lives and who dies. They govern money. They govern the flow of capital and capital goods to each country, without which country dies, on a daily basis. They decide, and we are convinced, firmly in the camp of Lucifer. They serve his purpose to create a world without God, and a world which is inhuman in our sense of the word. They have a lot of power, and unfortunately they're going to try and, when we spoke a moment ago about the changes imposed on us in our eating, in our clothes, in the way what we hear on television, or we hear on radio, or we hear in films, what we hear in drama, we're talking about that. Remember those changes that were forced on us, and the clothes they're forcing on us. All those things are planned, because that's where the intelligence is, and it is definitely satanic. It's to wipe out Christian civilization. The devil has very little time to do it, and he has almost succeeded.
So Christianity is going to have no role in this New World Order?
None. Paul VI, even poor Paul VI, who died in 1978, said that probably the church will be reduced to an infinitesimally small part of humanity. No influence whatever. Everybody would have walked over it, like countries like armies walked over Belgium in history and left it flat. They've walked over this whole the society that we created for exorcism. They've walked over it. They've simply walked beyond it. And there are several organizations that have failed to, because we're not able to manage it. We're not able to manage it. And these people are too powerful.
This is the end of tape number 1. The discussion will continue on tape number 2.